Well, hello, hot babes and hot boys. A little birdie tells me that you are wanting to break out of the plateau and have a business that is dramatically different to the one that you have right now today. Am I right in saying that? Yes, of course, I am. I could moonlight as a psychic, but we can reserve that conversation for a different day. What I want to talk about today is I want to talk about you and I want to talk about your business. And working with consulting clients, being around business for the last 17 years, having my business in a beautiful co-working space where every single day I get to work among 7 and 8-figure founders. Shit, who knows how big some of these businesses are here. It is really interesting witnessing the business and witnessing the entrepreneur and seeing, I guess, qualities and traits and how their business has been set up where I can see why they have the business that they have. And that is what I want to talk about today. So let's move you from where you are right now to where you want to be. Sexy little call to action, but I do want to say that as you listen to this episode, and if you find yourself being like, yes, or this is what I need, or you find yourself agreeing. So this is where Business Bang is going to be the perfect program for you. This is where we develop the entrepreneur and we look at the business. So we work with these two things. So we make sure that you are the best entrepreneur that you can be and that you actually have a business that is scalable and that will make you a lot of money. So make sure to fill in an application for that. We have some incredible entrepreneurs that are in. We have some incredible entrepreneurs that are starting with us. And I, of course, would love to have you. So the first thing that we are going to do when we look at growing and scaling. So I want you to think right now about where you are in business today. I want you to think about who you are, how your business looks, what you're selling. And I want you to go to a place in the future where when I say I'm going to wave my little magic wand, what are we working towards? If anything was possible, is it that you want to have a 7-figure business? Is it that you want to have a business where you've got $1 million cash in the bank? So that is what I want you to think about. The entrepreneur that has already scaled or that has gotten to a point of success of where you want to be is one, they have their identity down pat. That is number one. I want you to look at the identity that you have today. I want you to look at the thoughts that you tell yourself. I want you to look at how you move through the day. I want you to look at how you talk about your business, how you talk about your clients, how you talk about where you're going. And I want you to ask yourself, with everything that we just looked at, do you think, be honest, that your identity matches up with the business that you have? And you're probably going to be like, yes. And I want you to ask yourself if you believe that this same identity would take you to the business that you want. And what you need to do is you need to upgrade parts of your identity so that you have the business that you want to have. You want your identity to arrive well before the results do. So that when people look at you and they look at your business, they assume that you are already at the point of success that you are striving for. Let me tell you, the amount of times that people think that I'm doing like $1 million plus a year and that it makes me laugh because we are not there. You need to ask yourself, the identity that I have, the thoughts that I have, how I show up, do I have the identity of someone that has a 7-figure business? And if not, you need to upgrade that. You need to look at the things that you tell yourself, how you show up, what you're wearing, the decisions that you make, and you need to upgrade parts of your identity. So this is where get really clear on your ideal day, get clear on how your business looks, and transport yourself into the future and just take a little glimpse of who this person is. And what I want you to start to do is pull elements out of your future and bring it into your today. And we have got podcast episodes on this. Do I know what numbers they are? I have no fucking idea. So go and listen and you will find some goodness there. So the second thing, they have separation with their business. They know that they are not their business. They work for their business. They are the founder that is executing their business's vision, but they know that they're not their business. You can see this a lot where people have this enmeshment where they believe they are their business and that if they have a low sales week, this means something about their self-worth. And when usually it's you have a low sales week because sometimes dips happen, but also you need to sell. If you feel like that you are your business, the problem is that whenever you have a moment where you feel like you're sick or something happens with you, this is reflected in your business. When you are building something that is at that 7-figure mark, or when you are going for scale, your personal life doesn't impact what happens in your business. Your business is a separate entity. It is sturdy. It can survive without you. So this is where you get to audit your life and ask yourself, if something happens with me, and if I have a moment where I feel like I am wobbly, does my business wobble too? Or have I actually built something where I can take my foot off the gas? I don't need to keep my eyes on it consistently. And I know that it is still going to move forward with what I've actually created. And that is what we've got to work towards. The third thing is they are disciplined. And you can use discipline, you can use devotion, whatever it is. But they know, when we look at that previous point of they are not their business, they work for their business, they know that their business is going to need things from them. And they can bring all of the excuses, it doesn't matter. It is just going to it's going to soothe themselves in the moment, but it is still not going to give them the result that they want. And they know that they need to be disciplined and devoted in the pursuit of their vision. They have to make things work. They have to make it happen. For example, I am in work right now. It is a Sunday. I'm filming the podcast episode. I could do this later at night, or I could say, hey, we're launching and I've got so many things on. I'm just not going to do it this week. This is where you need to be disciplined with actually making things happen. You need to be disciplined with seeing things through. You need to be disciplined with actually showing up and moving through periods where it actually feels really uncomfortable. And you have to ask yourself, if any time you feel like you're blocked, do you put the brakes on? Do you slow down? If you have a launch and it feels like people aren't buying or you don't feel like it that day, what do you do? Are you like, okay, cool, you don't feel like it today. What's it going to look like so that you can do the work where you feel like it? What's it going to look like to just move through this uncomfortable emotion and still show up anyway and still do the work? Or if any time you encounter a little bit of resistance, do you stop? Is it surprising to you that you are where you are today in business? We could look at this like someone trying to get fit. Could you imagine if every time you went on the treadmill and your heart rate went above your everyday that you got off the treadmill? What would happen? Do you think you would be on there for a long amount of time? Do you think you would be fit? Or do you think that you would feel like that you are, I'm still showing up, I'm exercising, I'm working on a treadmill, but you're not really pushing through this uncomfortable point? And that's why you're like, how is everyone else getting fit? How are they running marathons? And I just can't seem to make this work. Because a lot of the time when things happen, and things will in business, we add meaning to it. So when we're like, I just don't feel like it and I don't know why. So you have to ask yourself, am I being disciplined to the business that I want? Which leads me to my next point. Entrepreneurs that have scaled lean into grunt work. They lean into getting their hands dirty. If something is happening within their business, if there is a bottleneck or if there is this huge, it's this huge roadblock in the way, they deal with it. They don't put it off. They don't ask the group chat and they ask close friends on Instagram and they bring in basically this big, focus group to decide a decision. They just decide. So if they know that someone needs to be fired in order for the business to move forward, they will do that. If they know that an offering has to be cut, they will do that. And they are not afraid to kind of go in and get their hands dirty with it. They're not like a victim with their business where they're like, why me? Why is this happening? They lean into it. They lean into the discomfort and they get it done. The next point is something that I picked up from the incredible entrepreneur that is Daniel Priestley. And he mentioned something where he's like, all incredible entrepreneurs have this thought where it is with or without you. So we are growing with or without you. We are going here. And if you want to come, you can, but we're going there either way. And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast where you can't drag people to change. If you know where you want to be, the worst thing you can do is try to drag your audience and drag your clients, because sometimes people don't want to change. Sometimes people can love the idea of having a big business. They can love the idea of being an entrepreneur. But for them, they are more attracted to the idea than they are the result alchemizing in their reality. They love to talk, but they don't actually want this to play out. And it is up to you being an entrepreneur to build the business and build the vision and serve the clients that are at that point. And sometimes you have to leave people behind. That is just part of business. It is unfortunate. And you want to make sure that you are not stunting your own growth because you are holding yourself back waiting for people to grow. I know for me, this is kind of happening at the moment where I'm following up a few people about that have put their hand up or they kind of want to work with me. And it's like they get really close and then they back away, and they get really close and they back away. And I know I've spoken to some, a friend about this before, and she's like, oh, it's going to be really annoying that when these people are ready to work with you, your prices, you're going to be full. And I'm like, but why does that impact me? Because if I am full with people that are ready to move, the only person that actually ever loses out is the person that doesn't want to move. I know I'm always going to win. That is a mindset that I have. I know that I'm always going to get where I want to be. And sure, I can want to do it with some clients, but I'm not going to hold myself back waiting for people to be ready. And I love that I think that he said this in such a succinct way where it's like this with or without you mentality. And that is something that it's like, when you get an entrepreneur that is wanting to scale and go past or go to that 7-figure year or that 7-figure goal, that is what they have. They are not trying to drag people. They are setting the vision and they are following the vision and they are inviting people in. And if that is not you, that is fine, but we are going here with or without you. What they also do is they are incredible at leverage. They are amazing at leveraging things, whether it is their audience, whether it is someone else's audience, whether it is the people within an offer. They are really good at looking at the resources or the clients or the awareness, the attention that they have, and asking themselves, how can we leverage that? How can we use that to get this result that we want? What would that look like? And they're very good at getting curious on the things that they can do. So this is where, yes, they have their core plan on how to actually build a business, but they're really good at recognizing, okay, cool. If we're at point A, we want to get to point B, and we know that we have these things working for us. What would it look like for us to lean into that a bit more? Should we create a referral program for our clients? Should we do affiliate marketing? Should we do an in-person event and then get these clients to each bring another person? This was something I did when I was doing my in-person events in this space, literally in this room that I am right now. I would have clients that would want to come and I'd be like, you can come, but you have to bring 2 friends. And I would be happy to have the client there, but I now outsourced my lead generation to them. I knew I could sell, but why I was running these events is I need eyeballs. I'm happy for a client to come, but how can I leverage their network? And that was one thing that I did, and it worked really, really well. So entrepreneurs are fantastic at leveraging things. You even see this where they will make business decisions because they will be able to get in with someone's network. It's like for me, why I joined a co-working space. I didn't have a network. I was still new to Melbourne. I didn't know people here. I kind of knew people in the online business land, and sure, I could go to networking events. But for me, I wanted to put myself where the successful businesses were. I wanted to be able to leverage their network, leverage the whole network of my co-working space, and that is why I joined here. They also are really good at making decisions and making them fast. Entrepreneurs don't need to have the whole picture in front of them. They don't need to have 100% certainty. They don't need to draw tarot cards, journal, wait for a new moon, ask their close friends list. They don't need to do any of that. What they need to do is get enough information, and then they know, okay, cool. I know I'm going to be fine if this fucks up because I know who I am as an entrepreneur. I am just going to move forward with this. And I see this a lot. This is actually an email that I've sent out twice within our GG promo where I'm like, if there's one thing that will fuck a business, it's indecision. I reference this study by Harvard Business Review, and it talks about how one of the worst things for a business is a CEO that can't make a decision because that becomes a bottleneck. A company is fine with overcoming a bad decision, but they are not going to overcome very, very, very slow decisions. Because the problem is when you are slow at deciding, you actually end up with more problems compared to making a decision, ripping the Band-Aid off. Even if it's a bad decision, you now get to flex that muscle of overcoming that. So you then get to ask yourself, Am I making decisions? Am I being a business bottleneck? Am I being the 7-figure entrepreneur and making these decisions? Another thing that they're great at is they're great at being broke. You can look at all of the entrepreneurs that you love and look up to in business. And there is probably a podcast episode where they will talk about how they had no money or how they were really struggling. And this is not a sales tool. Like, sure, maybe it is some like compelling sales call to action. This is something with entrepreneurs. They are so good at uncertainty and they become so resourceful because they don't really have a lot of resources. The only resource they have is themselves and how they show up. And this is why you have a lot of exceptional entrepreneurs that have built something incredible from nothing because they've had to make it work. And I think a lot of people think that they need all of this capital and all of this money to be successful, and they can't be successful if they don't have a VA or if they don't have this. But you have so much evidence of people that had a lot less than you that have thrived because they've had to make this work. And this is something I said to an old business friend that I had, and she was really, really struggling. We both actually were. We had no money. We were trying to grow our business. I had a different business, and it was really fucking hard. And every day felt exhausting, and I didn't know where my next dollar was coming from or if I had money in the bank to basically pay my rent. I think at one point I was like living on credit, and I was like, I would make this work, and she was the same. And I said to her, the cool thing is when we master this, we are going to be fine. When we have like a blip in our future where we don't have any money in the bank or we don't know where our next dollar is coming from, we now get to learn how to make level-headed decisions from this point. And we were both single, so we didn't have a partner. We didn't have someone to split bills with. We were basically the sugar daddy that was looking after everything in the business. And I have gone through stages in my business where I've been really resentful of people that have had a partner, because I'm like, if only I had someone that, not even could split bills, but could put a meal on the table when I've been working all night. And then I was like, you know what? How cool is it that you get to master this? Because you're always going to be fine. You are always going to be okay. If you haven't gone through life with a buddy or someone to kind of like help you out with things, you are going to be so fucking resilient. Life can tear everything away from you and you are going to be okay. And that is why you see a lot of these entrepreneurs that have built something from nothing. They have had a bare bank account. They haven't had a lot working for them, and they have built something exceptional because they've made it work with what they have. So don't think that you need a flush bank account. Don't think that you need all of this. You need to be able to master the dips and master the moments where you don't know where your next dollar is coming from, or when you're like, okay, shit, this is scary. Because remember, stability is a salary and you have not picked that. You have picked entrepreneurship. Another thing is they don't need to be liked. This is where you can ask yourself, would I rather be liked or would I rather be happy? And you may feel like that you want to be happy, but what is actually playing out in your business is you wanting to be liked. I want you to think about all the times that you hold yourself back. I want you to think about the things that you want to say, the emails you want to send, the content that you want to share, but why you don't share that, because you're worried that you're going to rock the boat. I want you to think about, offers that you want to release and prices that you want to, but you don't because you're worried about what your family is going to think, your mother's going to think, your past clients or fucking followers or the Finsta accounts that are following you. I want you to think about how many times a day you hold yourself back because you choose someone else's happiness over your own. You want to make sure that you are not living your life and making decisions for other people who actually hate their own lives. Why do we do that? And something that entrepreneurs are incredible at doing is they are incredible at being okay with being hated in the pursuit of achieving their goal. They are okay if a few people send them an email where they are not happy or they say their content is shit or they get a negative comment, because they know on the other side of that is reach, and they know on the other side of that is a client that comes through. So they are okay at that. So maybe for you, there has been a part of you that doesn't want to be visible because you're worried. You're worried about ending up on the wrong For You page on TikTok. You're worried that it's going to be seen by the wrong people and they're going to come at you because they're not going to like your opinion. So you hold yourself back and you tell yourself that slow growth is fine because it means that you're just getting in front of the right people. What would it look like for you to rock the boat and be okay? Because what entrepreneurs are great at doing is they are okay at being hated and that they're fine with that. Because what you've got to remember is it is an unfortunate part of business and entrepreneurship that as you grow, and especially if you started the same time as other people, you are going to have people that want to hold themselves back. And the more that you grow, you are a mirror showing them what they could have been and all of the things that they could have done. And some people are going to have a strong opinion about that, and you are going to be on the receiving end of that. That is just an unfortunate part of life. So you have to ask yourself, are you willing to hold yourself back because you don't want to offend people that don't really like themselves and don't want more for themselves? Because the entrepreneur that knows that they are here to do incredible things, they're just going to be like, well, fuck them in their bad mood. I don't care. They can journal it out. I'm going to keep going because I know if I hold myself back, I'm not going to have the impact that I want. I'm not going to help the people. Like, I started this business because I saw the vision. Why the fuck am I going to hold that back? So they are fine with that. They are okay with that. And they have, they have like a system, or they have something to kind of deal with that. Whether it's going for like a run every day so they can decompress, whether it's meditating, whether it's therapy, whatever it is, they have something. So they make sure that they're not internalizing that, okay? It's like water off a duck's back. Whatever you have to do for that to happen, focus on doing that. Welcome things happening now. Practice. Because especially if you see the vision and how big your business can be, you are going to have to deal with that in future. Okay, so another thing that these $1 million businesses do is they are not afraid of spending money. A lot of people think that they are going to build their wealth by not spending money, that they holding everything in their bank account is going to make them wealthy. I've got a question for you then. I want you to think of all the people that have built their wealth with real estate. How did they build their wealth with real estate? Because they bought an asset. They had to spend money to start and play the game. So when we look at making money in entrepreneurship, you don't win entrepreneurship by keeping every dollar in your bank account. You win entrepreneurship by investing in things that have return on investment that will grow yourself, grow your business, grow your knowledge base, grow your staff, whatever it is. But that we know that if we spend $1, that this is going to make us a return in some capacity. So it is not about keeping all your dollars in the bank. That does not make you good with money. You are going to have to spend money. It's like for me, I spend money to be in my co-working space because I know being in my co-working space gets me seen by other entrepreneurs that have money, that have an incredible network. I know that when I was going and hiring a hotel room for 2 nights to do the podcast, yes, I was spending money. But on the other side of that, I batch record my podcast, which saved me time and is a really valuable sales tool for my business. I know spending money, like getting my nails done and buying nice clothes, means I always look fucking good. I never look like a depressed bitch. I can be in a bad fucking mood and it does not look like right now. Do I look like I'm in a bad mood? No, I always consistently look good. If I didn't spend that money, guess what? I would feel like shit. I would look like shit. I would not want to show up. And sure, there are some people who are going to be like, you've got to love yourself. I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to be some like messy bitch with my roots not done. I love having my roots done. It makes me feel good. And when I feel good, guess what happens? I show up. So when we look at people that have built something incredible, they have not built something incredible by not spending any money. They are strategically spending their money. So maybe the reason you are holding yourself back is because you're actually the one that's taking all the money out of your business. Your business is making 20 grand a month and you're taking a $12,000 or a $10,000 a month salary. And then you wonder why there's no money left in your business. It's because you are the one that is taking all the money out and there's nothing left over. You want to make sure that you are not starving your vision for a snack, because sometimes you have to put a little bit less on your plate because you have to feed other things. And that is good entrepreneurship, because that is what is going to grow a successful business. Now, I find that entrepreneurs will either fall into one of two categories here. They are either going to be really visionary or they're going to be very strategic. So some entrepreneurs will be able to kind of see the vision for the future. They'll be like, I can see and I can feel what 7 figures looks like. I'm not really sure currently how things are going to get there, but they're very good at the identity piece, showing up, content. But you are going to have some entrepreneurs that are very good at like the process and the strategy and the numbers. This is sometimes why you'll find like co-founders that are really balanced. You'll also have some people that are really good at both. I feel that I am lucky that I am good at both. However, this is huge. Was I good at both? No, I was always a visionary entrepreneur. I never really knew how to do it. And it's taken me some time to kind of learn like the structure of good business and what good business looks like. I always knew that I was going to be famous. I knew that I could hold that. I knew that you could put me on stage and I would be fine. But it was kind of the how that I had really struggled with. And that is what we're going to go into now. We are going to talk about what your business now needs from you and how do you actually create a 7-figure business. So what you're going to need to master if you want to scale, point number 1 is you need to know how to make $1 million. I want you to think about right now, if I were to say to you, I want you to tell me 3 different ways that you could make $1 million in the next 12 months. You should be able to, get some pen and paper, get a whiteboard and be like, okay, cool. This is what this is going to look like. I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. But if currently you're not sure how you could make $1 million and it feels like that it's just not going to happen, it is going to be quite rare that you are just going to wake up one day and arrive at a point where you have made $1 million. Now, I am not saying that you need to be really rigid with working out the how, but when we actually look at your business plan, you should be able to tell me how you can make $1 million. And a lot of entrepreneurs do not have a business model that will make them $1 million. And you can look at everything that you're selling and you can ask yourself, would I want to make $1 million selling this? So, and we've said this on like a previous podcast episode. I've said, I don't want to make $1 million a year selling my $35 offer. I just don't want to do that. Would I want to make $1 million a year selling Business Bang? Yes. Would I want to make it selling Give Good Email? Yes. Could I give you 3 ways right now where I could make $1 million? 100%. We could have one where it's GGE focus. We could have one where it's Business Bang. I could do one that's a hybrid. I could come up with 5, 10, 15 different ways to make $1 million. And you want to get to a point where you can kind of see the avenues of how to bring money in. Because as an entrepreneur, you are an alchemist. You can think of a vision, you can think of an idea, and then you get to create the plan and actualize that. So you get to bring that beautiful vision into your reality and you get to make that real. And what you need to start to develop is how you actually can make that happen. And a lot of people get stuck here because their ideas are usually trading time for money, or they only know how to make money from how they've made it before. And sometimes where they feel capped is they can't really see the possibility of how things can look, or they can't really see like a big vision for themselves. This is something I love to do. I love to do this with my friends and my family. And what I want to say, there's a recent podcast episode. I think maybe it was ep like 141. It was how cool would it be if? This is going to be really good for you to tune in and listen to, because what this does, it allows your mind to wander and all of a sudden you are going to see new possibilities be presented to you. So it's like, how cool would it be if you made $1 million selling that thing? How cool would it be if you made $1 million selling a passive course for this? And on that, another thing that these entrepreneurs do is when they look at what they're selling, they are designing things for scale. So there is like in business, you can make decisions that can bring in quick cash. Okay. There are times when I have done that where I'm like, I need money right now. This is not a forever thing. This is a today thing. This is in this moment. This is serving me right now. But there are times when I will make decisions where maybe it is not going to give me a lot of upfront cash, but it is something very much for scale and for my future self. And you see entrepreneurs do this, where sometimes they will kind of maybe take like 2 steps backwards to slingshot forward by transitioning from doing services to creating a course or creating a program or licensing their work. Or if they're a product, it's like, how can we kind of get this a bit more like mass produce? What is this going to look like for us to now create and do this at scale compared to us, creating 10 units a day? What would it look like to make more than that? And this is something where they have a plan that even thinks beyond the 7 figures. So when you look at how do we make $1 million, it's like they're looking at how can I make $1 million, but how can I even make more than $1 million? Does this plan go past $1 million? Or am I even kind of setting myself up where I am going to have this same little road bump and I feel like I'm starting again? So you can look at what you're selling now and ask yourself, and even that identity piece, can you see yourself selling this at the $1 million mark? Can you see that? And if not, what needs to change? Knowing that you are moving to $1 million you, how is your business going to look? What are you going to be selling? How are you going to be showing up? And again, we can look at this according to my goals process of, what is the goal? Making $1 million. What are we selling? What is our lead generation and visibility strategy? What is our sales strategy? And what entrepreneurs have when they are at this 7-figure model is they actually have a proven scalable system. So they know what works. Yes, they're going to be refining. Yes, they're going to be tinkering with it to get that result, but they're not reinventing the wheel every quarter. They're not turning up every month or every week being like, I don't know what to do this week. I don't know where I'm at. They have a plan that they are continually refining. So I can look back at when I had my Pilates studio and I worked according to school terms. So we had school holidays off. I didn't have the whole Christmas holidays off, but I basically worked like a 10, 12-week term. What I positioned with this is we had the new client package of what people started with. And then when you went from your new client package, you joined the Pilates challenge. There were 2 options for the challenge. You could do 2 mat classes a week in 1 studio, or you could do 2 studio and 2 mat, I think. That is what I positioned. I had other offers as well, but within my pricing and how I structured this, I made it a really good deal for people to go from the new client package to then go into the 10-week Pilates challenge. What was really cool about having this system is every term I had a chance to refine this and make these little tweaks. So I could look at, cool, are people re-signing? Cool. What can we do to make people go from, the new client package really quickly into the challenge? What does that look like from their first phone call to us? How can we position that? And every single term, I then got a chance to make this better, and make this better. And what you'll find, especially if you know that you are at this, I'm going to call pre-scale point, is you will find that your income may stay the same, but where you will notice changes is you'll find that you're working less. Maybe there's less friction. Maybe you find now, oh, okay, cool. Every time I get a new follower, I know that they are my dream client. I know that I could actually see them buying my offer. Maybe it's cutting down the admin time. Maybe whatever it is, you look at the process that it takes to get that sale, and hopefully we should have a lot less fuckery in a lot less time. And the cool thing is with that, you've kind of worked out all these little kinks before you actually scale. And that's what I did with the Pilates studio. Now, that business never got to be $1 million. Could it have been $1 million? Not with how that business was running. But looking back, we could have done so much online. It could have lent itself to be a really good online system. I could have franchised that business out. That also would have worked as well. And it goes back to that start, that point that I made where it's when we look about making $1 million, we want to get to a point where you see all of the options of how you can make $1 million and not, I don't know how I'm going to do it. You want to have a lot of possibilities that are available to you. And looking back at the studio, I could see a lot of possibilities of how I could have done this. So another thing that these entrepreneurs have is they have really strong brand positioning. So they have a professional website. They've got, their taglines. They're not kind of changing every month what they're doing. There is real consistency within their brand. And if you talk to people and you're like, do you know someone that could help me with X problem? There is a chance that people are going to say their name in response. So this is where you get to ask yourself, what would it look like for me to be the go-to person or a thought leader within this industry? What do I need to do? Do I need to get updated professional images? Do I need to be really prevalent on a platform? Do I need to have my name in the media? Do I need to have a podcast? Do I need to have a book? What do I need to do to have this really strong brand positioning? Now, I know some people that don't really have a brand, but they get incredible word of mouth. They have an incredible network, or they sell very high cost services where they only need to sell 10 a year to make $1 million. But they have been doing it long enough and they are known within the industry and they do still have that brand presence. The thing is, their brand presence is more behind the scenes, where these days when you do have like an online business, especially if you want to sell courses and programs, you are going to need to have a strong brand. So you get to ask yourself, is my brand letting me down? Now, I am not saying slam the fucking brakes on until you do a photo shoot. What I'm saying is you just need to lean in and you need to make it work and you need to be visible and you need to be consistent. And what's really cool about this is the more that you do this, the more that your kind of message will be revealed to you. You know, in doing this podcast and knowing that I've got to do 2 eps a week, I'm talking about a lot of shit. And when I talk about a lot of shit, I'm finding myself repeating things. The cool thing is when you repeat stuff or when you feel yourself go back to things, that is revealing to you your processes, your really good content, your actual body of work. Where if someone was to come in and summarize your body of work, this is going to be a key teaching point that they are going to talk about. Now, the cool thing in doing this, I now know, okay, cool. If we are going and investing in content, if I want to go and do a shoot or create another course, or it's like if we're focusing on brand, I now know something that is really important to my body of work because I talk about this all the time. And it's like, you know, for me in doing the podcast, my books are being revealed to me by the things that I continually talk to you about, by the feedback that you give me as well. So this is where you need to do sometimes more to figure things out. So what you'll find is as entrepreneurs are scaling, and I see this a lot, is I don't think that they actually slow down their output. If anything, they increase their output. They 10x their output. You know, Gary Vee and Alex Hormozy have talked about this, where they do so much more content than the average person. And you've got to ask yourself why. Because they know that if they have their process in place, they have a proven process, they have these scalable offers, they know that more eyeballs means more chance of sales, which means more chance of that goal happening. But they also know that they are being like visible within their own process and their own body of work that people get to experience. So you get to ask yourself here, what do you need to do with your brand to be more visible? How can you do that? And if you're like, I'm not getting PR, cool, double down in content, be more visible, audit what you're doing. Okay, another thing that they do is they know how to sell and they keep selling and they have a system for selling. Guys, selling is not seasonal. Yes, you may be like, but they do launches. The launch is seasonal, but the sales process is not. They may be building a wait list. They are doing things behind the scenes. They've got ads going out. They may be doing like a speaking tour. They are getting everything ready and they are selling without actually selling so that when they open cart, it sells out. So what you need to ask yourself here is, am I building a brand and do I have offers? And when I look at my business as a whole, is this actually selling every day? If aliens were to come in and abduct me, would I feel that everything within my business would stop? Or would it keep selling? You know, for me, the podcast has been amazing because when people find me, especially if they just stumble upon a podcast or they look at my content and they say, I have a podcast, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go and listen to all my podcast episodes. And in the podcast sells. I talk about my offers. I talk about my clients. I talk about the results. You get to experience my body of work. And for me, this has been a scaling tool that I put in place. It is a very long game. You know, I've been doing this for I think 2.5 years now. It's been a long game activity that will slowly pay off. You know, it's not a sprint in any way, but it is being a system that I have created that sells without me needing to always be on. And that is one thing that I think entrepreneurs at like the point that you want to aim for have. Is they have systems, they've got their processes, they have their SOPs, they know how things work. If someone came in and they were like, you have to have a month off and you have to tell me how to run the business, what would this look like? They would be able to give that person a rundown. They would know a proven plan that that person could execute for this to happen. They would have that worked out. And this is where for you, maybe your next stage of growth is actually deciding what that plan is. And it's having a bit of a plan instead of just showing up and being like, does this work? Okay, cool. Let me put out a bit of content. Or is it actually something that is strategic? Okay, another thing is entrepreneurs know their numbers, they know their business, and they know how everything within their business works. They know when they're in zero what things look like. They know how to read a profit and loss. They're not just like, my accountant does that, or I'm really bad with numbers. That is like an identity that they just don't have because they know that everything that happens within their business is their fucking problem. Even if they've outsourced it to a bookkeeper and their bookkeeper fucks up, they know it's their problem. So they know how to master this, and they don't outsource that awareness to other people because they know how important it is for them to kind of have a hot little handle on everything in their business. I'm going to end by saying that when we look at what these 7-figure entrepreneurs do, when we look at people that have built an incredible scalable business, they always focus on two things. They focus on themselves and they focus on the business. You can have the best mindset. You can have the best mindset and the best thinking. But if you don't have a business that works for you, if you don't have scalable offers, if you don't know how to sell, if you don't know your numbers, you're always going to hit a ceiling. The same goes for business. You can have the workings of something that could be incredible. You could be sitting on a multi-million-dollar idea. But if your brain is fucking cock blocking the shit out of that happening, and if you have doubt, and if you can't make a decision, and if you need to ask 15 people for you to be like, what do you think of this Instagram post? Should I do this template or this template? You are probably never going to be successful until you break out of that. Because what good entrepreneurship combines, it looks at the entrepreneur and it looks at the business, and it focuses on mastery of both. And that is what you are going to have to do if you want to scale. If you know that you want to have a big business that is so much bigger than what it is today, maybe it's 7 figures, maybe it's beyond. But that is something that all incredible entrepreneurs, every single one of them that you look up to, they do both of those things. They develop the entrepreneur and they develop the business. And hot stuff, guess what? That is exactly what we do inside of Business Bang. So we look at your business. Together, we will create a scalable plan. Everyone kicks off with a strategy session with me. We have weekly sessions. Some weeks we have 2 weeks. So every fortnight, we've got a week with 2 calls. Every other week, we've got 1 call a week, and we've got Slack channel. I encourage you to think bigger. I will push you to think bigger. I will push you to see the vision, and together we will make a plan. It is up to you to execute it. I can tell you exactly what to do. I can stand alongside you. But at the end of the day, you are the one that has to execute this. You are the one that has to grow. It is up to you to do that. And of course, I would love to work with you. So what you can do, I'm going to link the sales page below. You can apply now and you can start immediately. Remember, the sooner you start, the sooner you get results. Alternatively, you can pop a deposit down for January. Currently, I am limiting the numbers. We limit it to 30 entrepreneurs. When we are full, and you will need to go on a wait list or pay me a lot more money to do private consulting. So it is up to you. I would love to work with you. So if that is you, pop your name down on an application and let's make your big growth and scaling goal. Who knows, next year could be your $1 million year, and I would love to stand beside you to make that happen. Hot stuff. I've loved this. I love you. I love you more than my fucking self. It's so funny. I recorded our Monday Mindset episode and I was about to pack up and I was like, no, make this easy for yourself. Do a Thursday episode. And then I was like, hold on, we'll just republish something. And I'm like, we're not going to republish something. Sit down, get to work. Pull something out of your head. You've got so many good things in there. So I just brain dumped some stuff. I walked around. I got my steps in and I voiced out what I wanted. I voiced it into chat. And I was like, chat, I want to do a podcast episode on this, and this, and this. Can you just put this into a bit of a structure for me, which I've got printed out in front of me? And I've been recording for 51 minutes. So I started this just over an hour ago and I've done this for my future self. So I love you more than that. I love you more than how my future self is going to feel knowing that my past self made a decision and put the work in to make this easy. I love that. I love you more than the double espresso that I'm about to have. So I'm going to have a little bit of a break. While this downloads, I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk, get myself a sexy little coffee, maybe a hot little snack. I'm feeling a berry moment. Love you more than that. I love berries. You know when people talk about the sign of being wealthy, I always was like, I'm going to have heaps of berries. I'm going to buy whatever berries I want. And I love now that I just buy whatever berries I want. I feel like I am already my wealthy version of Peter. I love a blueberry. It has to be really firm though. I don't like them when they're soft. I like them to be really tart. A raspberry and a blackberry. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with them. I have found out though, I feel like I found this out very late at like 37. I didn't know how bad berries were for your teeth. My dentist is like, oh, they're so terrible. You should rinse your mouth after you eat them. This is why your teeth are fucked. You should snack on cheese. And I'm like, look, I'm not sad about that, but like, I don't really think that I can walk around the office just eating like a huge hunk of brie. Like maybe I could, but I don't really know. I don't really know if that's like a thing, if that's going to be good for my waistline or my cholesterol either. So I asked her what she snacks on, and she's like, I don't snack. And I was like, okay, cool. We love a disciplined queen that does not snack. And she does have very good teeth as well. So I love you more than that. I love you more than my favorite little wine bar. They took one of my dishes that I loved off the menu. So I don't love you. I don't love you more than that because I want them to bring it back. But I asked them if I could get the recipe, and they just gave me the recipe. So I love you more than myself for just asking for something and for them for giving it to me. They have this like sexy anchovy toast, and it's on this like herby lemony ricotta with like a salsa verde and then an anchovy on the top, and it's fucking delicious. So they gave me the recipe for that. I'm so excited to make it. Ooh, I could go it right now. Hot stuff, we may end it there. I love this. I love you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Mwah.